Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Right now, veterans and advocates are taking a stand against cuts to government-funded services and benefits. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. KPBS reporter John Carroll is live in Balboa Park, where a rally is underway. John, what can you tell us?
Hey, Maya, the rally was supposed to be outside of the San Diego Veterans Museum, but Mother Nature had other plans, and I can tell you up to the second weather report, it's windy, rainy, and cold outside right now, so we are inside the World Beat Center, where about 100 now, the crowd has been consistently growing. 100 veterans and their supporters are here for this rally to hear from various speakers. We're joined now by Ian Mooney, who is the president of the San Diego chapter of Veterans for Peace. Ian, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Tell me about the main message that you would like people to receive coming out of this.
The main message is simple. VA healthcare is socialized medicine. Socialized medicine is good for people. We shouldn't cut the VA. We should expand the VA.
And what has been going on over the last several weeks of the Trump administration that specifically you have issues with?
It's hard to pinpoint one thing. Certainly the renditioning of Mahmoud Khalil is something that has been on all of our minds here in this city, and we advocate strongly for his freedom. Aside from that, obviously, cutting veteran services like the VA healthcare, that reduces our ability to seek care and our ability to find help, like through the Veterans Crisis Line. This is something that we don't like.
And I heard a speaker earlier say that the VA was already, in their estimation, understaffed, and that this has just made it worse.
Yes, absolutely. This country has been pushing for privatization in the healthcare system for a long time, and the VA is not immune to that. And that is something that we don't like because it's not efficient. It does not help people. It's not people-oriented.
And very quickly, what are you going to do if you don't get any of your demands answered here?
I guess we'll have to knock on Trump's front door and say, hey, man, you got to listen to us. Veterans are very organized people. We put this together in about a week. And if our demands are not met, then we'll continue to demand them in more extravagant ways.
All right, Ian Mooney, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for your time.
So that is what is happening here. It's scheduled to go to about 6 o'clock tonight with the Veterans for Peace. Live at the World Beat Center in Balboa Park, John Carroll, KPBS News.
Meanwhile, teachers and classified staff from across the state are also protesting Trump administration policies today. Hundreds gathered at the Federal Plaza downtown. Earlier this week, the Trump administration announced a plan to cut nearly half of the U.S. Education Department's workforce. Education Secretary Linda McMahon says it's meant to improve efficiency and accountability. But protesters say cuts will hurt students from low-income households and those with special needs.
Laying off in the Department of Education, we can't provide the services. The federal government will not be able to provide the services or send out the checks for these school districts and these states to get the funds that they need, or check on the civil rights violations that are happening that may be submitted through their online website, if that even is still there.
Democratic attorneys general in 20 states, including California, filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration over the Education Department job cuts. The Poway Unified School District Board voted to eliminate dozens of staff positions last night. KPBS education reporter Katie Anastas says board members and staff agreed that the need for more student support remains as one-time state and federal money runs out.
The list includes counselors, special education staff, and those who work with English language learners.
We help new immigrants adjust to new school environment and a new language. We give them the language and confidence to talk to their teachers and peers and become an active member of their school community.
It also includes student services assistants. They shared stories of helping students resolve conflicts and cope with their emotions.
In all my years, and especially after COVID, I see the students needing even more support in their days at school.
Board Vice President Michelle O'Connor Ratcliffe says state and federal pandemic funds allowed the district to add and keep those kinds of positions.
The problem is that once we had those extra people to support our students, it was clear that we've needed them all along, even before COVID happened. And just because the money is gone now or nearly gone doesn't mean our students don't still need those extra supports.
The district is facing a $10 million deficit. Along with the loss of COVID funding, enrollment and birth rates are declining. O'Connor Ratcliffe says parents can help by boosting the district's attendance rate. State funding is based on average daily attendance.
A 1% increase in student attendance, for instance, means an extra $1.5 million. Get your kids to school.
Superintendent Dan Churchill says district management will also lose 10 positions. Those cuts will save about $2 million. District leaders are still exploring other ways to cut spending, but they have to warn staff of potential cuts by March 15th.
My hope and my sincere desire is that they will find enough non-personnel cuts that we will have to make very limited personnel cuts.
The board will approve a final budget in June. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
It's been a cool pattern with some showers. The winds are going to start to lighten as we go through late tonight into tomorrow. And that's going to set the stage for a different feeling of a weekend. I'll tell you more in the full forecast still ahead.
The U.S. Senate passed a spending bill to avert a government shutdown with just hours to spare. Only 2 Democrats voted yes, along with Republicans on the final bill, but 9 followed Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's effort to allow the bill to come to a final vote.
I felt, and those who voted with me felt, that as bad as the CR was, and I know a lot of members didn't like the CR, a government shutdown would be far worse. My job as leader is to lead the party, and if there's going to be danger in the near future, to protect the party. And I'm proud I did it. I knew I did the right thing, and I knew there'd be some disagreements.
The short-term spending bill keeps the government open through the end of September. It now goes to President Trump to be signed into law. The National Endowment for the Arts has frozen more than $300,000 in grants for San Diego organizations. KPBS reporter Katerina Portela says that uncertainty has put the local arts community in limbo.
In San Diego, art is everywhere. Plays, orchestras, dance classes, and cultural festivals shape the city's creative landscape. Many of the organizations behind these events rely on federal grants. Now, that funding is at risk. Last month, the National Endowment for the Arts canceled upcoming grant applications just a week before the deadline. They have been rescheduled with new rules, including a ban on DEI programs. Then, grants set to be released this year were put on hold. Diana Dumel is the director of local organization Bodhi Tree Concerts.
This was actually our 3rd National Endowment for the Arts grant. So, it's a really big deal to a small organization to get that grant.
Dumel's program was set to receive funding for an opera co-written with children, offering students a behind-the-scenes look at playwriting.
Unfortunately, I think arts funding has been on the chopping block many times throughout our history.
Children's programs accounted for 1/3 of San Diego's 2025 NEA grants. Other organizations plan to use the funding for performances and events, such as a Juneteenth festival and a La Jolla Playhouse exhibition. Grants range from $10,000 to $60,000. Carl Bunker is the director of Sacra Profana, a choral performance organization.
We're a very small organization. Budget's just over $200,000, so a $10,000 grant makes a difference to us. This grant was supposed to fund a portion of our summer choral intensive, and so we're scrambling a little bit to make sure we have the funding to put that program on.
Without these grants, organizations must turn to other sources, like philanthropy or city funding. And with San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria announcing a budget deficit and potential cuts to city programs, arts funding could take another hit.
I hope I don't lose the grant, but even if we do lose the grant, even if we lose our federal funding, we need to find ways to just keep telling the stories of all of us.
Arts leaders remain hopeful their programs will survive with donations and smaller grants. But this year, San Diego's art scene will feel the strain. Katerina Portela, KPBS News.
UC San Diego will offer workshops in English and Spanish tomorrow on college admissions and financial aid. The event is called Comienza con un sueño, or It Begins with a Dream. It's meant to help 6th to 8th grade students and their families understand California's college systems, testing requirements, and financial aid opportunities. Francisco Salinas is one of the event's organizers, and he says the language barrier can make it hard for some families to access that information.
It is common for us to hear from students and families that it is their first time on campus, that, you know, they didn't envision themselves at a university campus in the past, and that thanks to this experience, they feel encouraged and empowered to be able to pursue post-secondary education.
The event will also include a STEM fair. Online registration is closed, but in-person registration may be available. The event starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning at the Lion Tree Arena at UC San Diego. The San Diego Wave FC's season opener starts on the road this Sunday against Angel City FC. KPBS reporter Melissa May checks in with the team and what fans can expect this season.
Since last season, there have been a lot of changes within the San Diego Wave FC organization. New ownership, new president, new coach, and 10 new active players. But there's one consistency.
This relentless mentality of always wanting to pursue excellence, I think is something that, you know, the group of players that have been here from the beginning and has really held on to.
Defender Kennedy Wesley says this preseason was all about building relationships and bonding as a team.
We have so many new faces from so many different walks of life, and I think getting to know each other off the field kind of translates to what we do on the field.
Midfielder Savannah McCaskill says the club wants to start this season strong.
That's the #1 goal, is we want to win. That hasn't changed, and you know, after last year not making playoffs, I think the club really wants to get back to winning ways, and us as a group of players really want that as well.
Wesley says fans can expect the team to be aggressive with and without the ball.
You can expect us to be suffocating defensively, pressing high up the field, competing, tackling, all that good stuff off the ball. But I think on the ball, we have so many really creative players, and I think we're going to use that to our advantage.
Head coach Jonas Eideval explains his vision for the club.
The long-term vision for the club is to be sustainable in winning trophies. So it's not a one-year thing, it's year after year after year. Being able to finish in the top of the league and winning the playoffs and going through and be competing even in international club competitions.
Eideval's expectations are clear for this season.
Success for us would be reaching the playoffs, doing that in a way where we are developing week by week, growing stronger and stronger and stronger.
The team's home opener is Saturday, March 22nd. Kickoff is 7 p.m. at Snapdragon Stadium. Melissa May, KPBS News.
If you haven't already, check out the KPBS Soccer a la Frontera video series. The 3rd episode coming out Monday, and it's all about the early days of women's professional soccer in San Diego. You can learn more at kpbs.org/soccer a la Frontera.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, universities across the country face scrutiny from the Trump administration for DEI policies and more. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Vista's Moonlight Amphitheater usually hosts concerts, plays, and holiday light shows. But this Saturday will make history by hosting the first licensed cannabis event in San Diego County. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne says Vista has been a trailblazer in legal cannabis sales for years.
Not all cities have welcomed the cannabis business with open arms, but the city of Vista has.
Vista is really going to be kind of the flagship when it comes to cannabis in San Diego County. Since we were at the tip of the spear when it came to legalization, we were able to get the best dispensaries, the best brands, and the best people to really invest within our city, and they've really become a part of the fabric of our community.
Joe Green is a former Vista City Council member. He helped pass cannabis-friendly regulations in the city. As a result,
Farmers Cup is going to be the first ever legal cannabis consumption and retail event in the county of San Diego.
The Farmers Cup will be the first cannabis event on public property where cannabis can be purchased and consumed. Before the Farmers Cup, all events were held on private property. But before we give you the details of the event, let's walk you through how Vista got here.
Vista has really been a pioneer when it comes to how we allocate the cannabis revenue. We're not necessarily trying to line the city's pockets with this revenue. We want to give back to the community.
The sales tax on cannabis has raised $5 to $7 million a year for Vista's budget. The revenue pays for sheriff's deputies, park rangers, and youth scholarships.
So whether you're looking to play Pop Warner football, you want to play soccer, you want to play baseball, or maybe you're a kid who's in band who can't afford to get an instrument at your school, the City of Vista has a scholarship program with cannabis funds allocated just for families that need scholarships for their children.
Before cannabis was legalized, Green says there were 21 illegal dispensaries in Vista.
We have 0 illegal dispensaries. Legalizing this allowed us to make it more safe for our community. All products are tested, all products are taxed, and all revenue goes back to your community for positive change, which is what it's all about.
Legalizing was one thing. Normalizing cannabis use was next on the list, and that included an event. It's something Josh Caruso, the CEO of Farmers Cup, had been trying to do since 2018.
I called every single municipality from National City down up there by Humboldt County, and every single one of them told me, we're not ready. We don't know what you're trying to do. It sounds crazy. Some of them even hung up on me. They thought it was a joke. And finally, I called Vista, California.
Vista was the only city to give the green light to host the first ever licensed cannabis event. But what does that even mean?
This is a public event on public property, city-owned property specifically, that changed the law within their own city to allow cannabis consumption. That means we can smoke cannabis and use cannabis products on this property legally without anybody saying anything about it.
Vista Sheriff's deputies will be there but won't care about cannabis use. Caruso says this is a game changer for cannabis culture.
For this point that we can do this legally in public, it is a stepping stone for our whole culture here. And we're going to have everybody come together from all ages. 21 and up is allowed. But we've had a lot of the senior community excited about this too.
I think some of the misconceptions is that people are just using it recreationally just to get high, but it's beyond that, you know.
Sahara Burness is the operations manager for Cake House Vista, one of the first dispensaries to open in the city.
People are using it for their ADHD, they're using it for pain management. We have a large senior community who comes in and purchases items for, you know, their aches and pains. We have cancer patients.
Cake House will be the cannabis sponsor for the event.
5 years ago, you couldn't go somewhere and shop in a safe environment. So we're so blessed to be a part of this where you can go to an event and it's safe, you know what you're buying, you know what you're getting.
Event organizers say they want to break new ground. Other city and county officials will be watching how it turns out.
We're looking at making and taking these events to other cities across California and across the nation. So it's an educational event, it's a fun event, it's music if you like to dance and have a great time, and we really think that this is just the first event of many to come.
The festival includes an award ceremony for a cannabis competition, musical performances, and food trucks. The cash-only event is 21 and up and starts at 11 a.m. at Moonlight Amphitheater in Vista. Tickets are required for entry. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
After the rain comes the potholes. Our media partner KGTV has been monitoring the city of San Diego's Get It Done app since early this morning, and well over 100 potholes have been reported today alone. The city's transportation department says they fix about 40,000 potholes every year, but a recent audit projects that the city could see a 27% increase of that number this year.
Here is really bad, especially after the rain.
It damaged the bottom of my car. Compared to like other small areas such as Poway and Rancho Bernardo, I think the road condition is a little bit worse in Mira Mesa.
The transportation department says it typically takes 10 days from the time it's reported to fix a pothole, but because it's the rainy season, it may take twice as long. The storm system that brought record rainfall to parts of Los Angeles County also brought a rare tornado. The National Weather Service confirms it was on the ground about 2 minutes with 85 mile per hour winds. Jeff Wynn spoke to people who woke up to damaged property yesterday.
Lashing winds set off car alarms in Pico Rivera, where crews cleared out downed trees next to Joe Corral's home. Our drone flew over him as he put down tarp over his damaged roof. Did the wind just peel off your roof?
All this right here, it's all one piece. It just peeled it off all back in one piece.
Oh yeah, down there.
The National Weather Service confirms an EF0 tornado touched down in Pico Rivera just west of the 605 freeway and Whittier Boulevard between 3 and 4 Thursday morning.
Pico Rivera is within an area of the Los Angeles basin vicinity where these weather systems that favor those ingredients all coming together tend to more frequently align.
In fact, Montebello, just a few miles away, experienced a tornado nearly 2 years ago. The security camera belongs to Adrian Campos. What did it feel like inside your home?
Loud.
He says it was absolute sensory overload for him, his family, and their dogs.
We thought it was an earthquake because when the big trees were falling, they were making kind of like a little vibration.
The tornado left a mess in George Rodriguez's backyard.
The tables, the chairs, the glass, the umbrella ended out over there. It just blew. I thought it was going to hit the house.
Several cars got banged up as well. A number of people say they're glad the tornado touched down as they were sleeping.
If you'd have been anywhere else, if you'd have been outside, you'd have gotten hurt.
Jeff Wynn with that story. Although the brief tornado touchdown caused damages, fortunately, no injuries were reported.
We've had kind of the wet pattern lingering around, and like I said, that's wrapping up. Not only is the wet weather wrapping up tonight, but we will actually see those winds finally lighten, which is some nice news for some of us that are always bugged by the winds. Another quiet weekend on tap for us, which is great if you want to get out and about. We've had a nice stretch here where we've gotten the moisture during the work week, and if you have Saturday and Sunday off, it's been just glorious. The rain does return, though, as we head into Monday, which is also good news because we still need to ramp up and continue our wet season. Right now, tonight, we're still getting rid of those showers. 53 the low in the city as you head towards Oceanside. 47, Mount Laguna coming in at 32 degrees for your lows. Brisk out there. Tomorrow's forecast, though, puts us back into the mid-60s. We're turning things around. We have some clouds certainly to start off the day. 64 again for the high. As you look towards Chula Vista, more of the same there. Borrego Springs topping out at 71 degrees. When do things start to change? Well, you might think it would be towards the end of the weekend. Sunday, we actually managed, though, to stay dry as most of the moisture takes aim at Northern California with the next storm system. So we will have to wait until Monday to get in our chance of rainfall and some more shower activity. You can see the clouds building for Monday. That's going to be our mostly cloudy day. Temperatures there still in the mid-60s, so we don't vary too much with the temperatures as we watch for that next storm system to come in. Notice what happens as we head through Saturday and Sunday. Still pretty quiet, very nice. Sunday, 70 degrees for the high if you're in inland communities. And then we're back to the mid-60s with some more clouds on Monday. As we transition then into Monday here across the mountains, the winds ramp up with that next storm system. Certainly will be some showers. I think a lot of the activity comes Monday night across the area, which is why we don't have much in the icons here, but at least the chance for some rain does return for the early week, especially for the mountains and then the desert communities, keeping some of those extra clouds as we head through the start of the work week. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
Tomorrow, Comic-Con Museum officially opens the doors to the Doctor Who Worlds of Wonder exhibit. It celebrates 6 decades of the longest-running sci-fi TV show in history. And KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando got a sneak peek.
I am here at the Comic-Con Museum where they are opening a new exhibit, Doctor Who Worlds of Wonder, and I am here with a hardcore fan of Doctor Who, someone who's curated an exhibit himself. This is Andrew Beach. So tell us a little bit about why Doctor Who is so appealing to you.
Oh, it's the most pure form of escapist fantasy you can have, really, as and when the weary elements of the modern day world sort of start to get you down, you can sort of escape into a situation where the monsters aren't real and they're always going to be thwarted in the end. Well, 9 times out of 10.
And when did you first get introduced to Doctor Who?
Sitting in front of a television set on a grainy black and white 4 or 5 lines scenario back in 1963 when a pair of junkyard doors opened and a couple of school teachers went inside looking for their pupil Susan. So yes, I've watched it from the start.
And what do you think it is about Doctor Who that has given it this legacy and this long-term appeal?
I think a lot of people identify with the central character, even though he's supposedly an almost immortal alien who could regenerate. He's also somewhat of an anti-establishment, oddball, eccentric character who basically goes his own way and does his own thing and doesn't really conform with what is sometimes required by the various different societies he visits. And I think there are an awful lot of people in the world who feel a bit like that.
And you actually have contributed something to this exhibit, and this is a key component of some of the episodes. What do we have here?
For those who don't know Doctor Who very well, perhaps his most famous opponent is the Dalek, which is basically, it's not a robot, it looks like a robot, in fact it's a cyborg because there's a living organism living inside and the shell is in fact a life support travel machine for it, and it is the item we see over there on our right, the silver thing with the blue spots. That is one that was made using the original techniques that were used in 1963 to make the original one, so that it's an absolutely accurate copy, although it did actually feature in the TV show latterly when Stephen Moffat decided he wanted to have his last two Doctors, Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, actually come up against them. So it's real screen used, as it were. It's a real Dalek.
Well, if you want to come see the Dalek here, it is in the Monster Vault. I'm Beth Accomando, and I am here at the opening of the Doctor Who Worlds of Wonder at Comic-Con Museum.
Yeah, those things used to scare me as a kid. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.